Well, Northwestern unfortunately had their second game of the week postponed due to the health and safety protocols of a COVID-19 outbreak on the team. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome in. This is Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We really appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every single day. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us there. Wherever you're listening, make sure you are subscribed, turn on notifications. You don't want to miss an episode as we continue to pump out these videos and all of the content that we have going right now. Also, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so jumping right into this. It's been a tough week for Northwestern basketball. Last week was tough with the way that you take two losses in a row. I did an episode earlier this week previewing the Iowa game and about how I thought Northwestern could get back on the right track. Thought that after a tough week, they could bounce back and start off the week in a solid manner against Iowa. I thought the team was playing extremely hard. And then everything came screeching to a halt because it appears multiple players are out right now, are unavailable due to the COVID-19 health and safety protocols for Northwestern, with the fact that there are 10 scholarship players on Northwestern's team, and Luke Hunger is out for the year right now. So that means that they're down to 9. That would imply that for the Iowa game on Wednesday and for the Wisconsin game tomorrow to be postponed, at least 3 players are currently unavailable for Northwestern. I was hoping it was only going to be a 1-game postponement with the Iowa game. I was hoping that they'd be back in action this weekend. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Got the word yesterday that the game against Wisconsin had also been postponed. It's a bummer. It really is. Obviously, you want everybody to be safe and healthy and get through their battle with COVID, but it is a bummer because you wonder how this affects this Northwestern team and their season, just because it's just another kind of wrench thrown in there for a team that felt like they were rolling early in Big Ten play through the large early portion of the season. Little bit of adversity this past week by taking a couple heartbreaking losses, and then now here you go this week. You've got both games postponed. I don't know what that looks like moving forward for the Big Ten. Feels like it would be awfully difficult to quickly find a way to cram in 2 extra games for Northwestern and get them to the full number of Big Ten conference games. That would obviously put Northwestern in a really unfortunate spot from a rest perspective in the back half of this Big Ten season. At some point, they would have to play on a bunch of short rest, which the grind of this season kind of wears teams down anyway. That would be really unfortunate. You got to wonder how this affects the momentum of this team? Could it be a moment for this squad to kind of take a breath, come together as a group, um, and almost because it turns into almost like a week, one of those December week offs kind of where they didn't play games for like 9 days. That's a little bit of what you're going to go through. That's what um, at least some of the guys on the team it appears that they will be going through, depending on how many are actually dealing with COVID right now. I wonder what that does for this team as far as the way that they're playing. I think they were playing really good basketball um, before this stoppage in play took place. Does this allow them to refocus and re-gear up for the stretch run to the end of the Big Ten regular season? Or is this like um an inflection point that makes the season kind of fall apart? I think that that's something that I'm concerned about just because it doesn't appear. I mean, this appears to be in this season, at least unless I've missed this happening somewhere else. This appears to be a unique situation for this season that Northwestern is going through, and not really other teams out there. So it's unfortunate in that aspect. Um, I am fascinated to see what this does for. I feel like over the course of this week, because Northwestern hasn't played, they were in most of the bracketology brackets when you look at them. I feel like they're slowly sliding just because there's no movement. And I do wonder how does a committee weigh a team that plays two fewer conference games? Like, say Northwestern gets to a solid conference record, um, where they're on relative level playing field with another team from either the Big Ten or another conference, and you get to Selection Sunday, and the committee is having to weigh a Northwestern team that played two fewer games than the other team in this instance, two fewer conference games. I don't think it's fair to penalize Northwestern in that instance, but at the same time, like, I have to feel like the committee would sit there and just be like, "Hey, this other team played two more games of the grind. They battled it through." I wonder if they would weigh that out and push the team that played more games in. I have a lot of questions about how this. I mean, obviously, first priority: everybody get healthy, everybody be okay. That is the first priority. But I have so many questions about what does this do to Northwestern basketball season? How does Chris Collins circle the wagons here? How does he rally the team together to come out of this very kind of awkward, clunky stoppage in the season in the middle of Big Ten play, in a stretch in time where this stoppage doesn't happen at this point in the season ever. At this point in the season, you're playing 2 games a week, every single week. That's the way it works once you get in conference play. I mean, in some conferences like the SEC and the Big 12, you still play 2 games every week. You may have that one little blip game where you're playing a Big 12 or an SEC team. I just think it's a really weird situation because it's not like it was last year or 2 years ago, um, or 3 years ago. It's not like when you saw significant stoppages um, across the college basketball landscape, because that does not appear to be what's happening. This appears to be something unique to Northwestern. So I just have questions about how this affects this team. I don't have a lot of answers. right now, but it's going to be something very interesting to keep an eye on as this season progresses. I hope these guys are ready to roll the midweek game next week. That would be um, I enjoy watching this team play, and I'd like to see him back out there. I think that that's something that I am looking forward to, and I'm hopeful that we do see this Northwestern team back in action um, in the midweek game next week. But for now, I mean, that's kind of just where things sit. Like, not a lot of information. Don't really know what this next steps are. Don't really know um, how this affects anything or everything moving forward. It's going to be fascinating to watch. In a second here, we're going to take a look around the Big Ten and look at the games that are taking place this weekend. But first, let's talk about our friends from BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college basketball to NBA and really any other league out there. We've got it all at Bet Online. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at Bet Online as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, where the game starts. Thank you again for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, looking around the Big Ten. Saturday, obviously, the Northwestern Wisconsin game will not be taking place, but you have a couple other games in the Big Ten that will be taking place. You've got Iowa going on the road to Ohio State in a game that all of a sudden feels like a must win for Ohio State. Ohio State is a team that the narrative has shifted on when they beat Northwestern and the way that they dominated Northwestern. The Big Ten Network immediately after the game was like, "Look at it! Look at this Ohio State team. They're getting healthy. They're so dangerous. They've got so many talented players. This could be a team that competes at the very top of this conference." Since then, it's been a bumpy road for Ohio State. It has not gone the way that they would like it in any capacity, really. They have lost since that Northwestern win. They have lost, I believe, every conference game. They've lost 5 conference games in a row. The one against number 1 Purdue makes sense. Some of these other ones, they are Minnesota's only conference win. Things are not great in Columbus, and this game feels like a must win for them. I think that Ohio State has to perform well and outperform this Iowa team because it is so necessary for them to get this win. Iowa, on the other hand, 4-1 in or 4-2 or 4-3 rather. Holy cow, I'm reading this wildly wrong. In Big Ten play, started ice cold, lost their first 3 conference games, and then have reeled off 4 straight wins. Obviously, had that game against Northwestern postponed. They look like a team that has started to figure out who they are. High scoring team. I think it'll be interesting, but I think Ohio State, just a desperation factor, has to win that game. Also, 15 minutes after that one gets started at 1 o'clock, you are also going to see Nebraska on the road at Penn State. A couple teams that have had some up and downs. I mean, Nebraska just beat Ohio State. Penn State has some solid wins as well. If you're asking me, I think the home team, the home environment in the Bryce Jordan Center gets it done for Penn State, and I think they get a much needed, very big win in that one. Those are the games on Saturday. On Sunday, as my ESPN ad starts playing. Sorry about that. Um, Minnesota and Michigan. That's one of the two early games on Sunday at 11 a.m. on the Big Ten Network. Minnesota's not a very good team. Michigan, I think, is starting to play better ball. They got that win um, over Northwestern on Sunday last week. This week, they dropped a road game at Maryland. But I mean, I think that this is a solid Michigan team. I think they should handle business in this game. Give me Michigan in that one. Michigan State on the road at Indiana. Indiana 3-4 in Big Ten play. Michigan State 5-3 in Big Ten play, starting to play some very good ball. I'm getting killed by these ESPN ads right now. It's awesome. Love this. Two straight wins for Indiana as they've beaten number 18 Wisconsin, went on the road and beat up on Illinois in their midweek matchup. Michigan State, they kind of got on a roll after losing to Northwestern. They beat Penn State, they beat Nebraska, Michigan, Wisconsin on the road, all in a row. Lost to Illinois, lost to Purdue, then bounced back in the midweek with a pretty impressive win over Rutgers. I think Michigan State goes on the road in this game and gets a big, big, big win. I'm looking forward to that one. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. And then finally, an hour after those two tip off, Maryland on the road at number 3, Purdue. I think Maryland I think Maryland is not quite where they need to be to go on the road and get a win in Mackey Arena against a top 3 Purdue team. I think Purdue gets that one done. If I had to guess. In a second, we're going to take a look. There's a couple big games in college basketball elsewhere. We're going to take a look at those. But first, we got to talk about Built Bar. Are you looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little bit healthier this year. If you're like me and you want to eat healthier, but you don't want to compromise taste, then look, I've got just the thing for you. You got to try Built Bar. I mean, with Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious. You won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built bars at built.com. Now you can go get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box with of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. Or if you're close to your Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. So look, if you're just looking for a healthy snack, if you're looking for if you've got a late night craving or something like that, Built Bar's the way to go. You got to try Built Bar. They're so very, very good. All right, looking around the rest of the country, we're going to quickly hit the games that jumped out to me as I kind of poked around the games taking place. Number 17, Miami is at Duke on Saturday. That's an interesting one because it's a Duke team that has not lost at home all year, I believe. And it's a Miami team that is number 17 in the country, tied for second in the ACC, I believe. I think this is a spot where home court advantage, big ranked matchup, the talent of the Duke team shines through. I think Duke gets a big win in that one. Number 14, TCU on the road at, I believe it's a top It's a top 3 Kansas. I think it might be number 2 Kansas. For whatever reason, I did not write it down, but that's going to be a fun matchup. TCU took a tough loss as West Virginia beat them for their first win of the Big 12 season. I think Allen Fieldhouse is too difficult of a place for TCU to go in there and get a win. I think Kansas gets that one done. In the Pac 12, number 5, UCLA is at number 11, Arizona. This one's been interesting because Arizona's dropped some odd games. UCLA is rolling in Pac 12 play. I think that they go on the road to the McHale Center and get a huge win in that one. So give me UCLA on the road in that matchup. And then in the ACC, the kind of final one to wrap up this list, you've got number 10 Virginia on the road at Wake Forest. Both these teams are 6-2 in conference play. 14-3 Virginia versus 14-5 Wake Forest. Wake's been playing some good ball. I believe they gave Clemson their only conference loss. I think Wake gets that one done at home and continues their hot start in ACC play. Look, you got to keep an eye on what happens around the country because there will always be upsets every single week. Last week, you saw like 10, 11 ranked teams go down. 9 of them lost to unranked teams. It was a fascinating weekend, Saturday of college basketball. So I look forward to seeing what is in store this week. That's probably going to do it for today's episode. We will keep our ear to the ground on what is taking place with Northwestern basketball. Hopefully, we see them back in action soon. This has been Locked On Northwestern. We appreciate you making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every single day. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern wherever you're listening. Make sure you're subscribed. You turn on notifications. You don't want to miss an episode. I'm your host, Carter Bird. You can follow me on social media at CarterBird13. And I'll see you next time.